fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The train shuddered to a halt, a metallic groan echoing through the otherwise silent valley. But it wasn't the journey's end that quickened my pulse, nor the crisp mountain air filling my lungs. It was him, Gru. Even from the distance of the small, weathered platform, the power radiating from him was a physical weight pressing against my chest, stealing my breath. They called him a recluse, a collector of unusual things. Whispers followed his name like shadows, artifacts of forgotten gods, creatures bound by ancient magic, stories of those who sought his favor and vanished without a trace. I called him an obsession, a dangerous, consuming fire that had taken root in my soul months ago, fueled by stolen glances at portraits and fragmented tales. The air itself seemed to thicken as I stepped onto the platform, the scent of pine needles sharp and clean, overlaid with something else, something ancient and undeniably him. It was a scent I'd imagined 1,000 times, old wood, ozone, and a hint of something metallic, like blood and iron. My skin prickled with anticipation, each nerve ending a light. A tremor ran through my hands, and I clenched them into fists, forcing myself to appear composed. "You're braver than I thought, Lyra," Sophia murmured, her voice laced with a nervous energy that mirrored my own. She tugged at the crimson silk of her dress, the fabric a deliberate splash of defiance against the muted tones of the village and the imposing gray stone of the manor looming above us. Or perhaps just foolish. "Are you certain about this? We could still turn back." I ignored her, or rather offered a brittle smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Sophia meant well, she always did, but she couldn't understand. This wasn't about bravery or foolishness, it was about inevitability. I'd spent months researching Gru, deciphering the cryptic clues hidden within ancient texts, navigating the treacherous currents of courtly gossip. I'd sold my grandmother's antique necklace, the only valuable possession I had to secure passage on this remote train line. Turning back wasn't an option, not now, not ever. "He sent for me, Sophia," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "A direct invitation, that's unprecedented." "Unprecedented and unsettling," Sophia countered, her gaze darting nervously towards the manor. "No one is simply invited to Blackwood Manor. They're summoned, and usually for a purpose that isn't pleasant." I took a deep breath, trying to quell the rising tide of anxiety. Sophia's words were a cold splash of reality, but they couldn't extinguish the flame within me. I'm prepared for that. My gaze remained locked on the figure emerging from the shadows of the manor. Gru. He moved with a fluid grace that belied his imposing stature, a panther stalking its prey. He was taller than I'd imagined, broader, his shoulders filling the doorway like a sculpted mountain range. His coat, a dark, almost black shade of gray, seemed to absorb the light, making him appear even more formidable. His eyes, the color of storm clouds gathering over a turbulent sea, met mine, and a jolt of heat surged through me, a dangerous current that promised both pleasure and pain. It wasn't a welcoming gaze, not a curious one. It was assessing, calculating, as if he were weighing my worth, determining whether I was a threat or a plaything. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. He didn't offer a hand, didn't offer a smile. His lips were a firm, unyielding line, hinting at a hidden sadness or perhaps a cruel amusement, just a silent invitation and a warning. The air crackled with unspoken power, a tangible force that made the hairs on my arms stand on end. "Lyra," Sophia whispered, her hand gripping my arm tightly. "I don't like this. I really don't like this." I gently disengaged her hand. "It will be all right, Sophia. You can wait for me here. I won't be long." A lie. I knew with a chilling certainty that I wouldn't be returning to the village anytime soon. I began to walk towards him, each step deliberate, each breath measured. The gravel crunched beneath my boots, the sound amplified in the stillness. As I drew closer, I noticed the details I'd only glimpsed in portraits, the sharp angles of his jawline, the high cheekbones, the faint lines etched around his eyes, hinting at centuries of untold stories. He didn't move, didn't speak. He simply watched me approach, his gaze unwavering, his presence radiating an almost unbearable intensity. I could feel the weight of his power pressing down on me, suffocating me, yet I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. When I was just a few feet away, he finally spoke, his voice a low, resonant rumble that seemed to vibrate in my very bones. "You came." It wasn't a question, it was a statement, an acknowledgement. "I did," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. A flicker of something, perhaps surprise, perhaps something darker, crossed his face. "You are smaller than I anticipated." I lifted my chin, refusing to be intimidated. Size isn't everything, Lord Gru. He allowed a ghost of a smile to touch his lips, a fleeting expression that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Indeed, it is but naivete that can be a fatal flaw. He paused, his gaze sweeping over me, assessing, judging. This isn't a summer of simple escapades, Lyra. This is a descent into a world of shadows, magic, and a hunger you weren't prepared for. My breath hitched in my throat. I knew intellectually that this was true, but hearing him say it aloud, feeling the weight of his words, was different. It was terrifying and exhilarating. "And what kind of hunger is that, my lord?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. His eyes darkened, and for a moment I thought I saw a glimpse of something ancient and predatory within them. A hunger for knowledge, for power, for things best left undisturbed. A world where you might lose everything, including your heart. He extended a hand, not in invitation, but in command. "Come, let me show you." The scent of pine and ancient magic swirled around me, intoxicating and dangerous. I reached out, my fingers brushing against his cool, smooth skin. A jolt of electricity surged through me, and I knew with a terrifying certainty that my life would never be the same.